You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. I am Osarogie, Ogbonmwan. Let's share with you the top stories at this hour. President Tinubu appoints new Directors General for the NIA and DSS. The government threatens clampdown on filling stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. The DR Congo apologizes over assault of French diplomats in Kinshasa. We'll bring you details shortly. News Central now at this hour begins with security matters, where President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of new Directors General for the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, and the Department of State Services, DSS. According to a statement from the Special Advisor to the President, Chief Galale, Ambassador Mohammed Mohammed has been named the new Director General of the NIA, while Mr Adeola Oluwatosin Ajayi will lead the DSS. Ambassador Mohammed, who joined the NIA in 1995, has had a distinguished career in the Foreign Service. He has held various positions, including serving as the head of Nigeria's mission to Libya before his promotion to Director. The newly appointed DSS Director General, Mr Adeola Ajayi, has similarly advanced through the ranks, having served as the State Director in Bauchi, Enugu, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Kogi. Before his new role, he held the position of Assistant Director General of the DSS. These appointments come in the wake of the resignation of the former chiefs of the NIA and DSS. The Nigeria Police Force says that it has arrested 97 suspects and recovered several weapons used in the alleged killing of 2 police officers during a clash with members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria in Abuja. The force's public relations officer made this known in Abuja while also extending condolences to the families of the deceased officers. He says that the police will do all it can to apprehend those involved in the fracas and bring them to justice. Also talking security, bandits have abducted over 150 persons and rustled over 1,000 cattle in some villages in Gober Emirate of Sokoto State. The incident happened a few days after the death in kidnappers' den of the Emir of Gober, Alhaji Issa Muhammad Bawa, who was also the district head of Gatawa. The monarch was on July 29th kidnapped alongside his son and 6 others on the Sokoto-Sabon-Birni road. Hundreds of youths in the area ultimately staged protests after the killing of the district head. Confirming the latest abductions, Professor Bello Bada of the Department of English, Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, said it was unfortunate that bandits had returned to their dastardly operations in the area just a few days after the death of the district head. And now hospitals across Nigeria have been grounded as the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, begins a 7-day warning strike. The strike is in protest of the kidnapping of Dr. Ganiat Popola, a Kaduna-based doctor who was abducted 8 months ago. Patients are being turned away and routine procedures are being delayed. The Minister of State for Health, Dr. Tunji Alausa, met with NARD leaders on Monday to address the situation. NARD has demanded Dr. Popola's rescue, writing several letters to stakeholders and holding peaceful protests. Patients in Abuja hospitals are facing significant delays, leading to frustration and distress. The spokesperson for the National Hospital Abuja, Dr. Tayo Hastrop, said the hospital was attending to patients despite the delays experienced by patients. The strike is a cry for action to rescue the abducted doctor and ensure the safety of medical professionals in Nigeria. Now to judicial matters. The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Monday overturned a previous judgment by Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court, which had ordered the People's Democratic Party to include 378 excluded ad hoc delegates in its primary election. The judgment was in response to a suit filed by the aggrieved delegates who were left out of the PDP's February 22nd primary election in Edo State for the upcoming governorship race. Justice Ekwo had previously ruled that their exclusion was a violation of the party's constitution and mandated their inclusion in the primary. However, a 3-man panel of the appellate court set aside this judgment, citing that the lower court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the case. The appellate court further noted that the plaintiffs, being non-aspirants, did not have the legal standing to file the suit. Still talking Edo State, the People's Democratic Party has praised the Court of Appeal for overturning a previous federal high court judgment that criticized the conduct of its governorship primary election in Edo State. The primary produced ASUU Dalu as the party's candidate for the September 21st gubernatorial election. The three-man member appellate court panel ruled unanimously, stating that the lower court lacked the jurisdiction to address the issue since it was a pre-primary matter internal to the PDP. In a statement, PDP spokesperson Debo Olugunagba hailed the judgment as a triumph against anti-democratic forces trying to subvert the will of the Edo people. He asserted that the ruling confirmed the credibility of the PDP's nomination process and noted the growing popularity of Ighodalo. Olugunagba also claimed that some APC members are supporting Ighodalo, predicting his impending victory in the state's election. And now to discuss this, we're joined by legal practitioner Dennis Society. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Osarogie. Good to see you again after a long while.
Good to see you as well. Now, tell us, how significant is the Court of Appeal's decision for, of course, the PDP's chances in the upcoming election?
Yeah, for me, the Court of Appeal decision yesterday clearly reaffirmed what we have always believed, that the PDP primary appears to be one of the best in our recent history, and it has further energized the people. It has further, holding them, to further reassure them that the candidates of the PDP remains the candidate to beat in this election. So the Court of Appeal clearly reaffirmed the position of the law as we have always known it. We knew that right from the very beginning that the Federal High Court decision would stand the test of time. So the Court of Appeal has just reaffirmed what the people have always believed in, and that has clearly put the PDP miles ahead of the other opposition parties in Edo State.
Would you, is it fair to call it one of the best primaries when, there's, of course, a case that said 378 members were excluded from the primaries? How do we still call it one of the best?
The Court of Appeal, by a unanimous decision, I just told you that those persons who claim to be delegates didn't have the locus. They didn't have the locus. They didn't have a locus to complain. Those who were accredited as delegates in that primary took part in that primary election that was largely adjudged to be one of the freest, most credible, well-conducted primary in our recent history.
Yeah,
and the Court of Appeal, by unanimous decision, has reaffirmed that position.
Yeah, here's my point. The fact that they don't have the locus to complain doesn't mean that, they weren't excluded. You're saying that they don't have the locus to complain or to take it to take that case to court. Doesn't mean that they weren't excluded. The court had already ruled that they were excluded.
Just to put the issues in perspective, those individuals who paraded themselves as delegates were never delegates. The Court of Appeal has reaffirmed this position. I don't see anybody should be losing sleep over who was delegate or not.
The Court of Appeal's decision.
We have insisted that the PDP conducted one of the most freest, credible primaries in our recent history, and the whole world has come to terms with the fact that the PDP got it right in Edo State. Yeah. And the Edo people are very happy with the outcome of that primary, and no force in this world can change, what people have already decided.
Yeah, so
the
Court of Appeal's decision,
who claim that they were delegates.
To be clear, the Court of Appeal's decision isn't saying that they weren't delegates. The Court of Appeal's decision is saying that it was a pre-primary matter or something, and that's why they don't have the locus to challenge it. It's not because they are not delegates. They are delegates. Justice Eko ruled that they are delegates.
We have also argued in the past that whatever ECHO decided was a mere academic exercise, right? So whether or not they were delegates is of no moment. The issue now is that the primary has been adjudged to be credible, it was freely conducted, it was observed by INEC, and all the relevant stakeholders has put a seal on it, or legitimacy on it. Even the Court of Appeal has now affirmed that the primary and the outcome was justified and was legitimate, was well conducted. So whether anybody is still complaining, for me, it's an afterthought. For us, as of today, the PDP primary has been adjudged to be well conducted, it's very credible, and we have a very reputable candidate in the person of Dr. ASUU Dalu, and the Edo people are very happy, and they cannot wait to cast their ballots for ASUU Dalu come September 21st.
I've also heard, about the public support and defection from the APC to the PDP, in Edo State, according to
Yes.
Debo Oluwatosin. But, talk also about the APC and its journey towards the elections in Edo State. What do you think, are the mood of the Edo people towards the APC?
Yeah, judging by if the result of the recent poll conducted by Business Day or so is anything to go by, it clearly tells you that, close to over 60% of Edo people, if the election was conducted yesterday, they will vote for ASUU Ighodalo. And the reason is not far-fetched. The candidate of the APC appears not to be prepared for this election. I can't say the last time I saw him in public, even engaging with the press. He does not have a clear manifesto. He does not even know, he does not have the presence of mind to understand or appreciate what governance really is. So the people have clearly decided that ASUU Ighodalo is head and both shoulder, way miles ahead of the candidate of the APC. And that choice is a clear choice that people are going to be making come September. So because the APC have not shown that they are ready to be, involved in a free, fair, and credible election, all they are keep banding all they keep banking on is that they have a federal might behind them. Their candidates have refused to come out to communicate with the people. They have refused to come out to sell their manifesto. They have refused to come out to tell us their plans and programs for the people. And that for us is very worrisome. And that is why the people are it has become very easy now for people to make a choice. They know that ASUU Ighodalo has a manifesto. ASUU Ighodalo have come out to be involved in this, different town hall meetings across the country, even up to, outside of the shores of this country, to engage with our people across the globe, and he has communicated his programs and policies in clear terms, clearly telling us that he's ready for this job, and the people will not have any difficulties in choosing who the governor will be come September.
Finally, quickly speak on Philip Shaibu, and of course the recent happenings, with his being, of course, declared once again the deputy governor of Edo State.
Yeah, for me, again, that's another matter that is still sub judice, because the Court of Appeal have not ruled on that matter. Unlike the fake news that they were brandishing a few days ago, the Court of Appeal is yet to hear the appeal, as touching on whether or not he's the deputy governor of Edo State. But what is important is that all the other cases filed by Philip Shaibu has been dismissed, has been adjudged to be without merit. So all efforts to come to a government house through the back door, has proved abortive. So for me, I would rather encourage Philip Shaibu. He's still a very young man like us. He's still a youth. He should go back and to his drawing board and go and make peace with his people. Maybe in the near future, if people believe that he can become a leader in the state, they will decide his fate. But for now, it can no longer be a clog in the wheel of progress. It cannot distract the PDP from winning the next election. And he has clearly shown that he has defected to the APC. I would rather encourage him to focus on his new political journey and allow the PDP to conduct its affairs peacefully and prepare to take over governance from Godobaseki come September 2024.
Society, and thank you very much for joining us. Always interesting speaking with you. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again.
Thanks so much, Osarogie, for having me. Go.
All right. You're still watching News Central now. We're going to go on a short break, but when we come back, we will be speaking about the hike in fuel price and, of course, government's plans to shut airing petrol stations as petrol price hits 1,000 naira per litre. Stay with us. Welcome once again to News Central now. Many independent oil marketers in Nigeria have increased the pump prices of premium motor spirit, PMS, commonly known as petrol, to between 900 naira and 1,000 naira per litre. This sharp contrast to the prices at Nigerian National Petroleum Company stations, where petrol sells for between 568 and 617 naira per litre, often results in long queues at NNPC outlets. As Nigerians express concerns over the exorbitant rates by independent dealers, the federal government has promised to crack down on filling stations selling petrol at inflated prices. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, stated that such profiteering is not in the best interest of the public. However, independent marketers argue that they have been purchasing petrol from private depots at 850 naira per litre, leading to higher prices. NMDPRA spokesperson George Eneita countered this, claiming depot prices show lower figures than what marketers assert. And also, the Initiative for Leadership and Economic Watch has dissociated itself from a petition written to the United States Department of Treasury Office of its foreign assets control over the violation on an agreed price cap, on Russian crude by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The initiative says that it was never part of the petition and described the group responsible for the petition as faceless and lacking integrity. The initiative says that it was impersonated by unidentified individuals without genuine address, attempting to smear the image of the NNPC Limited and portray its officials, including the federal government, in bad light before the international community.
We have gathered here to denounce the letter written to the U.S. government and to state categorically clear that we were impersonated by those who wrote it. For the records, the NGO who wrote it is disguised as one of us, is not registered with Corporate Affairs Commission. Secondly, the two phone numbers used in their letterhead do not exist anywhere. The United States Department of the Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control should disregard the petition submitted by the personators, as it is not authored by any of us who are former occupants of the address.
It is important that any other civil society organization that intend to use that address for any reason should be able to be open for people to know him. We have received calls right from the day this was released on the media, which will mar our own integrity as an organization or a coalition. If you are afraid of coming out to say what you have found, you don't hide under the cover of where people have sat and built their integrity for you to be able to come to the society, the civil populace, to now start making unfounded statements with somebody else's address, which we are not even using anymore.
And still in the news, the meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has been rescheduled for August 28th. The union has threatened a nationwide strike over government's failure to honor the 2009 agreement. ASUU is demanding better university funding, improved workers' welfare, and an end to the proliferation of universities. The Education Minister acknowledges that some issues date back to 1981, but says the president is committed to finding a permanent solution. The minister is urging ASUU to be open-minded in the negotiations, considering the interest of all parties. We, of course, will keep you updated on developments in subsequent bulletins. Still talking education, Nigeria's Education Minister Tahir Mamman says underage candidates will no longer be allowed to sit for secondary school leaving examinations. According to Mamman, the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, which oversees the West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination, and the National Examinations Council, NECO, which plans the Senior School Certificate Examination, SSCE, have received instructions from the federal government to adhere to the requirement that candidates be at least 18 years old to be eligible for both exams. He also insisted that the age limit for any candidate to write the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, organized by the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, remained 18 years. Now, to discuss this, we're joined by Educationist Jala Olumilayo. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Let's first of all talk about, the whole idea of this new ban, this 18-year age limit for attempting those both exams. Do you think the government has got it right here?
Well, let me correct the notion that it is new. It is not new. It's been there, and it's not only in Nigeria, it's everywhere. I'm going to take two countries as a microcosm. I'm going to look at the British curriculum and the American curriculum, okay? In the British curriculum, we have the year system, okay? And we have what we call KS1, KS2, KS3, and KS4. So for KS2, you have year 7 to 9, and you should be 10 years old. And by the time you finish KS2, you'll be 13. KS4, 10 and 11. Then you write an ordinary level examination, okay? IGCSE, EdExcel, whatever exam body you want to write. And you now have KS4, which is actually like an A-level kind of thing. You have AS and A2. So by the time you finish that, you'll be 17, 18. If you check the American curriculum where you have the grade system, okay? They have from grade 1 to 12, all right? And starts from 6 years old. So by the time you get to grade 12, you're 17, 18. In Nigeria, we have the same system in place where you have from primary 1 to SS3, okay? And primary 1, you should be 6 years old when you get into primary 1. So by the time you get to SS3, you should be actually 17 years old, thereabout, okay? So it's not new, but it's just that Nigerians being who we are, okay, finding shortcuts and all that. They have a system of people having double promotions and things like that. So it became a thing where you can have students moving up faster than what they should be, okay? Naturally, we have prodigies. We have students that are just naturally gifted. That's different. But in the structured system, okay, it flows with age because there's a level of maturity you should be, okay, to move from one class to the other.
Well, I mean, the things that you've pointed out here, maybe double promotion or a child, maybe gotten earlier. So are we then saying that there should be an age limit, that a child gets to before they start school? Right from kindergarten,
that's
before
structure, yes.
Yeah. And if they don't get there, then they shouldn't be allowed admission.
Exactly.
Are we then saying also that every child must pass through primary 6?
With the structure in place, that is what's supposed to happen. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen because actually primary 6 prepares you for JS1. Okay, primary 6 prepares you for JS1. Yes, like I pointed out, you have exceptional students, but that should not be the norm. Now it's like you even have primary schools that end in primary 5. That's not the norm. Primary 6 is there for a reason. Like, for example, we have students that leave grade school at 13, 14, 15. The truth of the matter is, when they go abroad to study, they're not even allowed into university because you can't. We have people that have gone through the JAPA syndrome and got to the UK, to the US, France, or whatever, and their kids have to step down their education because they can't put a 13-year-old in university. They can't put a 14-year-old. That's why they have a grade system and they have an age boundary with that grade system.
So what happens with those kids that you mentioned, the ones who are, gifted? And they're, of course,
Exactly.
Yeah. What plan do we have for them?
Exactly. Now that's a different case entirely. If you have a prodigy or you have a gifted child, then they go into a special system, okay, where we have accelerated system for kids like that are extremely gifted. If you look through the years, you have kids that have gotten their professorship by the age of 18, 19. Those are just extremely gifted people. But for an intelligent student, that's a student that's well above average, okay, I believe they should still flow with the natural grade system.
Okay. I mean, the challenge, and of course, I did point this out earlier, is that, there's not been any proper excuses or reasons given by the federal government. They've simply just, tried to enforce this new 18-year law. I mean, and do you know any other reasons that they've stated?
Now, exactly. Now, in my own view, okay, we have a system that age bracket for now will not work. So, in my own view, it should not be a direct changeover kind of implementation. It could be a phased implementation, okay? Because if you put a barrier right now and say you have to be 17 to write the examinations, they are going to have a lot of backlogs. We have a lot of 15-year-olds. We have a lot of 14-year-olds in regular schools that are in SS3, SS2, that are ready to write the examinations. So you are going to create chaos if that happens right now. So I would, in this kind of case, present a phased implementation kind of thing. So we have to take it over the years. We can't just start now. We have to first implement it from primary school, the entry age into grade school. That has to be implemented. That has to be enforced. Okay. And for the years, actually, we have 5 years, 6 years for the grade school. So we have to implement it earlier. This is not something we can just implement overnight and there won't be chaos, okay? So it has to be phased. We have to look at it from scratch. How does this happen? Make sure we enforce our grade systems, make sure we enforce our age boundaries, and, give it time to flow and graduate to a stage where we can now enforce the writing of ordinary level examinations and university entry examinations.
Well, I hope the government is listening to your concept of a phased enforcement, because I know the way that the Nigerian government works. It's always almost like a knee-jerk reaction all the time. Somebody wakes up with a new idea and decides to make it law, and everybody has to fall in line. Jala, Olumilayo, thank you very much for joining us. We'll speak with you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, away from education, the Nigerian government is taking a stand, or Nigeria generally is taking a stand against tobacco. In 2015, the government enacted the National Tobacco Control Act, a landmark law aimed at reducing the devastating impact of tobacco use. In a bid to enforce this law with collective action, the Lagos State government and Federal Ministry of Health are joining forces for a 3-day sensitization program holding in Lagos. News Central's Adeola Oluwatosin tells us more.
In 2015, the Nigerian government enacted the National Tobacco Control Act, a landmark legislation regulating the production, manufacture, sale, distribution, and use of tobacco products nationwide. The act aims to reduce tobacco-related illnesses and death, promoting a smoke-free public space in Nigeria.
Is to sensitize participants
To ensure effective compliance with the Act and its regulations, the Lagos State Government and the Federal Ministry of Health is holding a 3-day sensitization program. This engagement seeks to inform and educate relevant stakeholders on the importance of enforcing the National Tobacco Control Act.
Since the Act was signed in 2015 and the regulation came up in 2019, it has been very difficult, getting both the Act and the regulation implemented. So this is part of the effort to make sure that we implement the Act as it is, and then the regulations also. So, and what do? We need to start with advocacy, sensitization of the stakeholders and the general public so that they know the effect of tobacco use and even tobacco smoke.
According to the World Health Organization, tobacco use claims at least 8 million lives globally each year, with low and middle income countries bearing the brunt of this epidemic. Moreover, secondhand smoking causes an additional 1.2 million deaths annually among non-smokers. These alarming statistics underscore the need for urgent action to create smoke-free public spaces in Nigeria.
You need to let the people, talks about smoke-free public places. So it's apt to sensitize the managers of public places, hoteliers, law enforcement officers, let them know their responsibilities to protecting the health of people that come to their facilities.
Tobacco Policy Action Fund for Africa program is a program that is aimed at reducing the prevalence of smoking among smokers and also to prevent initiation of smoking and to ensure Lagos State enjoy a tobacco-free state.
This sensitization program is crucial for fostering a deeper understanding among Lagos State stakeholders, ensuring key compliance with the National Tobacco Control Act, and promoting a healthier environment for all Nigerians. In Lagos, for News Central, Adeola Oluwatosin.
Still on News Central now, the rapid rise of social media has propelled a drastic shift in youth culture. In recent years, these platforms have not just been channels for self-expression, but have also become an integral part of shaping identities and social dynamics amongst Nigeria's youth. News Central's Chidima Onna tells us more in this report.
Clicks, likes, posts, shares, and comments are actions that have contributed to the wave of woke culture, a culture that has encouraged positive global change over the years and vices. Social media, the bubble of the fantasy world, is changing and shaping people's attitudes, particularly the young. For Nigerian youths, it has become an avenue for various purposes.
I believe it's two sides of a coin. I'm on social media a lot, and I see that for the perks, it helps give you a certain kind of visibility, right? Now it's easier to get viral, it's easier to, according to Gen Z parlance, blow. You know, so your craft is easily recognized, you easily get gigs and jobs online. But on the other side, there's this level of convenience that comes with it. We know Nigerians, especially the youths, to be people who learn to adapt easily. So they're people that can easily just use distractive mechanisms, coping mechanisms, and social media is one of that. And that's why you see a lot of Nigerian youths heavily on social media.
I think on the whole, it has really affected the youth because really so many of them have, been trained. So many youths have been trained without them necessarily paying money for training. Somebody will just organize a webinar, somebody will organize a WhatsApp training, somebody will just, all kinds of trainings that so people have, younger people have benefited.
The effects of social media have been impactful and simultaneously daunting. It is undoubtedly true that it has made the world smaller, creating room for networking and carving new career paths for people. But how well has it influenced career opportunities for people?
I think social media has influenced career opportunities for people in the sense that you don't have to go to a corporate environment before you can let your skill sets be known. All you need is a camera, good quality, and you can promote yourself on a larger scale using hashtags. So you don't have to go through the whole millennial stage where you can wear a suit and then you have to go through rounds and stages of interview.
Everything has some pros and cons, but I would say it has affected most young Nigerians positively than negatively, because now at least it took off a lot of people off the streets and gave them something to at least work for and get paid for, than having them turn to miscreants on the streets and all.
Despite the negatives, social media has provided an avenue for self-expression and activism, influencing everyday trends and global movements. As Nigerian youths continue to embrace and innovate within the digital space, their culture will likely evolve together with the rapidly changing technologies. In Lagos for News Central, Chidima Onna.
And now away from that, Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP, has experienced a year-on-year growth at 3.19% in real terms during the second quarter of 2024, according to the latest National Bureau of Statistics data on Monday, August 26, 2024. The GDP growth rate surpasses the 2.51% recorded in the second quarter of 2023 and the 2.98% growth seen in the first quarter of 2024. The GDP performance in quarter 2 of 2024 was primarily driven by the services sector, which grew by 3.79% and contributed 58.76% to the total GDP. The agricultural sector saw a growth of 1.41%, slightly down from the 1.50% growth recorded in quarter 2 of 2023. The implementation of government policies for the betterment of citizens in Plateau State has been described as one of the major ways the government can be held accountable for their activities. This was the crux of the discussions at the review of the last 2 years of governance in Plateau State at the Open Government Partnership between civil societies, government officials, and citizenry. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
The Open Government Partnership is a platform where government, civil society activists, and the citizenry converge to brainstorm on better ways to ensure that citizens are direct beneficiaries of what belongs to them. The fact that sometimes government deviates from its expectations, engaging in what is less of the needs of the masses, makes this kind of gathering imperative.
The Open Government Partnership is basically a platform where civil society, citizenry come together to work with government to create policies that can be implemented to the betterment of communities on the plateau.
That we're going to encourage citizens to engage more with government, and we want to see government officials talking to the citizen more about what government is doing, so that you don't leave room for speculation or rumors.
It exposes the mind of every citizen and brings us up to speed regarding the activities of the government, especially with policies that affect directly the citizens and the entire environment as a whole.
The essence of this engagement will set the ball rolling for people to begin to hold government accountable for their activities, as well as putting them on their toes to become more transparent.
So the summary is that we think budget should be subjected to public hearing so that you can have bottom-top approach. And we've done that in the past by engaging the Ministry of Budget in terms of accumulating the thought of people from the grassroots to the urban center.
It's for citizens now to pay very close attention to what the government is doing to ensure and to track and see that they are living up to their word.
This is meant to ensure that the business of governance is unbundled and made quite, simplistic, and one that citizens can follow, and also create, a feedback mechanism for citizens to engage government.
There is no gainsaying that how programs such as this resets the policies and focus of government will determine how impactful this partnership will be going forward. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
You're still watching News Central now, and coming up, DR Congo expresses regret over assault on French diplomats. We'll bring you more details after this break. Still in the news, authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, have expressed regret over an attack on 3 French diplomats in Kinshasa, according to government and diplomatic sources. The incident occurred during a raid by police officers and other officials on a property used by the French embassy. The raid was an attempt to remove a French diplomat, as stated by the Justice Ministry. According to diplomatic sources, during the assault, a cultural cooperation diplomat was physically struck and held for nearly 3 hours, while 2 other diplomats were roughed up but left unharmed. Several assailants, including members of the police and prosecutor's office, have been arrested. The site, occupied by the French embassy since 1972, was the subject of a legal dispute with a court ruling in favor of France last year. And South Africa's Army Health Service has announced the arrival of a Chinese hospital ship, the Peace Ark, in Cape Town to deliver essential free medical care to South African patients. The initiative is part of a joint exercise between South Africa and China. According to a statement released on Monday, the Peace Ark docked on South Africa's western shores on August 22nd and will offer independent medical services for 7 consecutive days. Medical personnel from South African Military Health Service will collaborate with Chinese medical staff to treat patients. While South Africa boasts the most advanced economy in Africa, the country continues to struggle with widespread poverty and high unemployment, which often renders quality healthcare inaccessible to many.
Involved in our own hospital, which is 2 military hospitals, where surgical procedures are also taking place. We involved in Tigerberg Hospital, where the CT scans took place. We involved in Power. We involved in Mitchell's Plain, as well as Somerset Hospital. So those are the hospitals where we have the collaborations between the military, the Chinese, as well as the National Department of Health.
I only use public because I don't have medical aid anymore because the prices are a bit high. So this was like the perfect timing because I was well for my 6-week scan, and the prices are usually high, but the private hospital. So I decided to come here, and it's my best choice.
It's an absolute privilege to be part of a mission like this. I think one of the main benefits of a mission like this is it gives access to healthcare for people that might otherwise not have access to it. So this is a very well-equipped, well-run hospital ship where we are able to provide quite an extensive list of services to the public.
To stories in other parts of the world, nobody expected President Joe Biden's campaign to implode after the shock of his performance at CNN's debate in late June. And also, nobody expected an assassination attempt against Donald Trump, an event that unified Republicans around. So, we also cannot predict what will happen between now and Election Day. But News Central's Afua Hagen gives us an idea of what we can expect in the next 71 days until Election Day in the United States.
The red, white and blue ticker tape and balloons have settled now the Republican and Democratic conventions have come to an end. The race to Election Day is now well and truly on. Vice presidential candidates have been picked and now both parties have limited time to convince the few undecided voters and make sure everyone in key battleground states gets to the polls. Trump reclaimed the spotlight on Friday as he campaigned in Arizona alongside Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The independent candidate had suspended his presidential campaign hours earlier and said he was pulling his name from the ballot in key swing states to avoid being a spoiler.
And these are the principal causes that
Kennedy's departure from the fringes completes the reset of the 2024 race as a two-person contest between Trump and Harris, eliminating one wildcard. This week will see both the Trump and Harris campaigns making their case in those battleground states, such as Georgia and North Carolina, that could swing the election. Donald Trump and his campaign are planning to aggressively ramp up the former president's schedule, hone his debate skills, and cultivate a new ground game strategy tied to the early voting states.
And those folks don't want a wall, they want a paycheck.
Harris and her campaign are seeking to harness the honeymoon period that she's enjoying after the Democratic National Convention and take those good vibes on the road, whilst also setting out her stall on key issues. It's also hoped she'll sit down for her first TV interview since she accepted the Democratic nomination. With the conventions over, the next race-defining moment on the calendar is their September 10th debate, hosted by ABC.
The core of my campaign is the people.
The campaigns have also both discussed participating in a second debate, but the details of where, when, and who would host have not yet been settled.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates.
After the disastrous CNN debate between Trump and Biden, no one can now underestimate the importance of these TV debates and the effect they could have on the presidential race. Vance and Walz will also face off in a TV debate on October the 1st, something that the less experienced Tim Walz may struggle with. And amongst all this, Trump also faces sentencing for his conviction on 34 counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments before the 2016 election. That September 18th date could slip as the court reacts to new immunity granted to presidents by the Supreme Court.
A lot of other things too, but I just want to thank everybody. And
for News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
And also discuss some business reported earlier that the Nigerian government is planning a crackdown or clampdown on petrol stations selling at 900 to 1,000 naira per litre, with the NNPC stations selling between 568 and 617 naira per litre. We now have Bernard Akede, who is out on the streets in Lagos. Good morning, Bernard. How's it going out there? Quickly tell us where you are and what the situation is like.
Good morning, Osarogie.
if you can hear me. Yes, I'm in Ikeja, actually. I'm on Latif Jakonde, which is off Agidingbi, if I'm not mistaken. And, well, the good thing is that the long queue here is actually moving thanks to the fuel attendants and the services of the Lagos State Traffic Management Agency, LASMA, who have ensured that there will be no gridlock around here. It was a lot longer than this earlier when we got here, but you know, it is moving. Now from here, what you can see might not give you the full picture. I'll swing around so you see better. There had been people here waiting longer, or rather waiting earlier than the fuel station had even opened, which sadly has been the story of things for the past 6 going into 7 weeks now. So it pretty much is business as usual as far as fuel queues and you know, fuel scarcity has been concerned for the past 7 weeks and counting now.
What's you know, the length of the queue that you can see there? You know, and of course, you know, I've spoken with Nigerians. How much is it being sold currently at that petrol station?
I would have loved to give you a full view of the queue. It is pretty long, longer than my eyes can see. It takes a curve, as a matter of fact, further down there. Now, the interesting thing, or the ironical thing also now, is that there's another fuel station just beside here that is not selling. So the issue is, for those who are selling, they have queues in front of them. For those who are not, it's completely short. And talking about the price that you mentioned, the NNPCL, it sells for about 568 naira, whereas other fuel stations sell from as high as 613, which is the least I've seen besides the NNPCL, and then 618, 628, 650, as high as, and you know, and the price keeps going higher, and that's for Lagos here. We got to hear that unfortunately outside Lagos you can get for as high as 1,000 naira per litre. It's that ridiculous. We have spoken to a few people this morning who are complaining that it is still the same thing. According to the information gotten from the NNPCL, sometime I think last week or 2 weeks ago, they blamed the whole situation on you know, logistics issues, saying that movement of product from the mother vessel to daughter vessels was hampered by elements of the weather, thunder, lightning, rainfall, but that we're working with appropriate agencies to ensure that the products will be available. Sadly, 7 weeks down the line, the situation remains the same.
Of course, you know, I wish all of those in petrol queues this morning the very best. Thanks for, of course, bringing us that report. We'll see you again. All right. And that's all at this hour on News Central now. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu appoints new Directors General for NIA and the DSS. The Nigerian government threatens clampdown on petrol stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. And also, DR Congo apologizes over assault of French diplomats in Kinshasa. Remember to send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Osarogie Ogbonmwan.